Today I want to talk about Mookie Cooper and Missouri and Ohio State and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time today. I want to begin a new ongoing video series about transfers, right? Where they landed and why I think it's a good fit or a bad fit. Rarely do I think it's a bad fit. I think some of these decisions are really in a vacuum right now because you don't know how a player is going to mesh with another team's culture. You don't know how quickly he's going to progress to perhaps a starting position. And even that is contingent on whether or not it's grad transfer or not. And I want to start with Mookie Cooper because I think that Mookie Cooper is an example of just how good Ohio State is and how much better Missouri just got. So Mookie Cooper commits, signs with Ohio State, and is a part of a national championship finalist team, but doesn't really play at all on a loaded wide receiver depth chart in 8 games, right? I think it's worth pointing out here that Brian Hartline's going to have a job in 2021 because he's got perhaps the deepest roster of wide receivers in college football, and he's going to have to find a way to keep them all happy because the thing that I think stands out about Ohio State in its situation is that they had 300 let me go at that again. They had 3 guys get at least 300 snaps at wide receiver, and all 3 are returning. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jamison Williams. Doesn't leave a whole lot of room for G. Scott or even Julian Fleming or Jackson Smith and Jigba or Mookie Cooper, right? Cam Babb is something else altogether. But it's only going to get even more difficult to break into that starting group, and that's kind of the thing. You can't look at any of those 3 dudes and say that they should not have got the snaps that they got because they all produced, and they're going to get sharper because Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. are joining up in this class as well. So Mookie decides to go into the portal round about Christmas, comes out at Missouri. And I really like that. I like it because Missouri was able to win 5 games, finish 500 in Eli Drinkwitz's first year, basically using possession receivers. They didn't have a big play guy. They didn't have a guy to take the top off the defense, but also a dude that you can move back into the backfield, do all sorts of different things. And I think that the comp for Mookie Cooper being Jeremy Maclin is right there for the taking. I'm being really interested to see how he meshes with Connor Bazelak, but there's a lot of things to like about what Missouri is doing offensively, especially in an SEC East that isn't nearly as loaded as the SEC West, right? I can make a great argument that Arkansas is a better top-to-bottom football team than Missouri, and yet Missouri doesn't have to contend with the same sort of schedule that Arkansas does. Say nothing of the cross-division rival is not really one you want to write home about. Now, the other part about Mookie Cooper is I really want to see him get snaps, right? Because I think that is going to be the greatest predictor of success. If he gets 300 snaps next year at Missouri, provided he's eligible to play, you're talking about perhaps one of the best wide receivers in that conference, right? Bama's going to have their guys. We all know that. And we know Kayshon Boutte is also just a dude at LSU. We'll see how the rest of this conference progresses because there's 19 wide receivers in this NFL draft class led by Elijah Moore, who many people forgot might be the best wide receiver not on Bama's depth chart. You get past Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, I'd take Elijah Moore over John Mechie last year. It's not to say that John Mechie can't progress and be that much better, but you get what I'm saying there. I think more than anything else, this is not a bad look for Mookie Cooper. This is him doing what he needed to do to get some playing time and in the SEC, which we know the NFL values over every other conference based on how it drafts, right? The SEC always leads in the NFL draft with the most players drafted. But it says that Ohio State is 1, stacked, and 2, I want to see how this culture pans out because the argument to be made to stay at Ohio State is that it's about having a 10-year career. It's not about having a 3-year career. It's about being in the shop that pushes out the talent. Now, I'm fond of saying Ohio State has not had a first-round selection at wide receiver since 2007, and that's not going to change this year because Chris Olave came back for another year. So it's going to progress into 2022. However, when you look at how the NFL has valued Ohio State receivers, you can see Terry McLaurin. You can see Michael Thomas. You can see, to a degree, Paris Campbell, right? Even KJ Hill. I'm not going to list every single friggin' wide receiver from Ohio State because some of y'all are obnoxious about it. And it's starting to get on my nerves. But you get it, right? Plus, you would like to see the NFL draft results for your recruiting, right? It's one thing to point at an all-pro, but it's another thing to say that that dude was going to be an all-pro coming out, right? The way that we point at Ohio State defensive backs is not the way that we point at Ohio State wide receivers. And I think Brian Hartline is doing a really good job of trying to change that narrative, because the thing about running spread, especially Urban Meyer's spread, is that it doesn't really take advantage of those guys on the numbers. The tight ends, the slot dude, right? That halfback that they put in the slot, the Percy Harvin type, the KJ Hill type, they get a lot of touches. But in this Ryan Day offense, where you're more likely to push the ball down the field and you're going to take advantage of really an NFL caliber quarterback, unlike, say, Tim Tebow, you're going to have some real success against these Big Ten defenses. So I'm really fascinated to see what happens next at Ohio State, but I'm also fascinated to see what Mookie Cooper becomes moving back close to home. And remember, this guy was originally committed to Texas until at the last minute, Ohio State. So we'll see how that goes. The other thing to hold into our account is for Ohio State and its wide receiver depth chart, it's going to have a lot to do with who Ryan Day taps as the quarterback, right? We think it's going to be basically a two-horse race. Kyle McCord could show up and steal it, but I'm just not going to count on that. Between C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller, I know that the majority of people that watch this channel believe C.J. Stroud is going to win the job. But whoever wins the job is going to have to facilitate. And they're going to have to be good at it, because it's not as if Ohio State's going to stop running the football. Matter of fact, there's a great argument to be made that they'll be much stronger running the ball next year than they were last year, in large part due to the new quarterback. But that's going to hurt the number of opportunities that you're able to throw the ball around. So you're looking at another year in which the leading Ohio State wide receiver might have 50 catches, right? Simply because the touches to the running backs are going to be so many. Master Teague, Steele Chambers, Travion Henderson, Evan Pryor. We can keep going here, right? Like, that's the point. We can keep going here. Mayan Williams. So I think it's great. I think it's a good move from both parts. I'm glad that Mookie Cooper found a place to land, and I can't wait to see him play. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.